Hey everybody, it's Flare31 here. Welcome back to more Pokemon Yellow. In the last episode, we went through Mount Moon. Nothing too crazy. And we're actually going to start off this particular episode with doing a trade. Alright, so I went ahead and caught a Sandshrew out on Route 4, which is just to the left. It's where we came from in the last episode, that little patch of grass below the ledge. This is because it is effectively the version pair. Like there are always version exclusives that come in pairs, where it's one is in red and one's in blue. And Sandshrew is the one for blue, while Ekans is the one for red. So let's go ahead and trade these. Alright, now with that, trade complete, so I'll see you outside. And we're back outside of trade land. So we have our Ekans here. How very nice, right? Original trainer Flare, because it did come from red. Let's go ahead and look at the Pokedex as we ought to do. Obligatory Ekans is just snake backwards. With that out of the way, unfortunately, Ekans is kind of hard to recommend because unlike the Nidoran lines, which were pure poison but then evolved eventually into poison ground types, Ekans remains a pure poison type forever. And pure poison as a actual final typing, no, it's not good. If you look at the type matchup chart for poison only has one thing that it hits super effectively, being grass. It eventually also gets access to being able to be super effective against fairy, which is pretty good, but in Generation 1, instead of fairy, the bonus super effective you get is on the bug type. Unfortunately, both grass and bug types tend to also be part poison type, and poison resists itself, so you're basically losing out on your 1/2 super effective type matchups. And because of the fact that you're probably going to want to have a flying type Pokemon just to be able to use the move Fly, and the flying type is already super effective against both grass and bug, it makes the poison type even more useless than it already was, at least for attacking. Defensively, it has somewhat more of an argument. Pure poison type is resistant against grass, fighting, and poison. Those are okay types to be resistant to. They're not amazing, they're not bad. And really the strength in that lies in dual typing. If you combine those resistances with a different type that has other resistances, then you can definitely make some strong combinations. But that doesn't help our pure poison type here. And the nail in the coffin is that poison is weak to two of the most prominent attacking types in the game, two of the best types in the game, ground and psychic. All of that adds together to make the any pure poison type Pokemon really just hard to recommend. Regardless though, if we continue looking at Ekans is exclusive to Pokemon Red. It's not even in blue. And so it's our first truly exclusive Pokemon. Ekans stats are relatively balanced. There is definitely a bias towards attack and speed, which is good for its typing, because poison is a physical attacking type, but it's not enough to save Ekans, unfortunately, from being a very, 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 very mediocre, maybe even bad Pokemon. So at level 22, Ekans does evolve into Arbok. Obligatory Arbok is just Cobra backwards, but with a K instead of a C. And Arbok is basically the same thing. Its stats are still very even, and I think it's the only Pokemon we've seen so far with an entirely yellow stat page. The most aggressively mid of mid Pokemon. So yeah, it's not winning any awards. Its attack and speed are better than the rest of its stats, but not by enough to make it worth anything really. And so it kind of puts Arbok into a nice position where you can feasibly use it as a mixed attacker. And I'm going to try to leverage that with my moveset. So first up on the moveset, we have Acid. Acid is base 40 power, and it's like slightly better than Poison Sting because of that. It doesn't poison though, it's a secondary effect. It lowers defense by 1 stage, which could be nice, but it's not anything crazy. And on top of that, you have to get to level 47 before you learn Acid. It's baffling. It's kind of like the wing attack thing all over again. It's like, why do I have to wait until like level 36 or whatever level it is to learn wing attack? But the only reason I put it on here is because I do favor having a stab move on your Pokemon. And this is the best one that Arbok gets. If I were to recommend something else, I would probably just go with Body Slam. If I'm being completely honest, it basically is just, it'll do everything that Acid can do, but better. Like, you'll lose your super effective attacking on grass and bug, but like, again, that's not super relevant, unfortunately, because pretty much everything is part poison, like I said, and so then Body Slam is just going to be doing more anyway, because if it's already neutral, then, you know, it is what it is. But Arbok is also a learner of Earthquake, and I mean, physical attacker that can learn Earthquake, like auto put on, there's no questions asked there. And then for some reason Arbok does get access to Rock Slide, and that like is the only other type of move that Arbok can learn that's not normal type. And so being able to like hit like flying type super effectively with it will be pretty nice, all things considered. You can also use it to hit those bug types, especially if you aren't going to keep your poison typing, or if it's like a bug poison type, for example, that you're fighting. And then finally, there's Mega Drain. Mega Drain is the sole special attacking type move that Arbok can learn, and it should help it actually a lot against rock ground types specifically. Because while Earthquake will do stab on the rock type part, Earthquake is a physical move, and pretty much every rock ground type has high defense, but really bad special. And so having Mega Drain will then, even though Arbok special leaves something to be desired, it will probably just do more damage than Earthquake will. Plus, you'll be able to heal yourself a little bit if Arbok is surviving hits from something, which it could theoretically do. I mean, it's relatively balanced, so it could definitely take and dish out some damage if it wants to. You're going to have to be kind of picky-choosy with your battles, though. That's just the nature of a pure poison type. So overall, this thing is, I guess, geared towards being a physical sweeper, but it really just is kind of a jack of all trades, actually. And so you should really treat it as such, which is more or less why I made my moveset what it is. Before we move on, though, I do also need to mention that Ekans and Arbok have a signature move, Glare. Glare is basically just Sunspore. It's a 75% accurate normal type move that will paralyze something. And Sunspore is a 75% accurate grass type move that will paralyze something. Both of those moves have the advantage of being able to paralyze ground types, because Thunder Wave being electric type, you can't use it on ground types. I mean, of course, Body Slam can also paralyze ground types, but Glare is guaranteed. So you might consider putting that on there in place of like Acid or something. But to be honest, you're probably better off having something else with just like Thunder Wave on it, or again, using Body Slam, so at least you're doing damage at the same time. Regardless, though, I would probably just pass on this. Even if you want to use a pure poison type Pokemon, there are better options later on, so unfortunate L for the snake Pokemon. The snake Pokemon. The older it gets, the longer it grows. At night, it wraps its long body around tree branches to rest. It seems pretty legit to me. Alright, so Now that we have that taken care of, I'm going to deposit the seconds into the box, and then we will get going. Alright, so I actually did some item management while I was depositing that Ekans, and I deposited my rare candy, my ether, my moonstone, and my helix fossil just to free up my inventory a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and sell that TM that we have, Whirlwind. I'm never going to use that ever, and might as well get some money. Now, on the other hand, we are low on Pokeballs. I think it could be worth our time to buy like 10 of them. Why not? And ooh, there are repels. We'll keep that in mind. We don't really have a specific reason to use repels right this second, so I'm not super pressed about it, but good to know for the future. And now with that out of the way, I do want to head up here first and foremost and go into this house right here, because this house is somewhat special. Pokemon badges are owned only by skilled trainers. I see you have at least one. Those badges have amazing secrets. Now then, which of the badges should I describe? So this guy will tell you what all of the different badges actually do. Like for instance, the Boulder badge that we just got, he goes, the attack of all Pokemon increases a little bit. It also lets you use Flash anytime you desire. And if we do instead the Cascade badge, oh my god, I was pressing B to go through dialogue. Alright, here we go. Pokemon up to level 30 will obey you. Any higher, they become unruly. It also lets you use Cut outside of battle. Yeah, so certain badges will increase your stats effectively, known as a badge boost. And that's what the Boulder badge does and some of the other ones. And then badges like the Cascade badge will raise your outsider Pokemon level cap, soft cap. And then he also tells you what HMs that the badge allows you to use if it's applicable. So, out here though, he actually has like a backyard. You can get a rare candy just like on the ground. Something else to put in the PC for a little bit later. I can do that on my own time though. And now that we have that, I do also want to go into this house right here. Wordish. Interesting spelling of that. Kiki? Okay. You have a Bulbasaur? Bulbasaur! Is that a good Bulbasaur impression based on the text? I take care of injured Pokemon. I nursed this Bulbasaur back to health. It needs a good trainer to take care of it now. Oh yeah? Well, I'm a good trainer. So, what you actually have to do for this is your Pikachu's stats, or not stats, but its friendship has to be high enough for the person here to give you the Bulbasaur. And the Pikachu is the only Pokemon in Gen 1 that actually has a friendship value attached to it. It's unique to the partner Pikachu that you have here. And you can actually cheese it quite a bit by using Potion. And it'll say it won't have any effect, but just the act of you using it increases friendship. So you can like spam this without losing any items for like 10 or so times, and then you can try it again, and then if your friendship's high enough after you try it again, she'll just like give you the Pokemon. Pretty neat, right? Yeah. Give it to me. I know. Would you take care of this Bulbasaur? Yeah, there you go. Yes. We are not going to give a nickname to the Bulbasaur. Please take care of Bulbasaur. So yeah, there we go. We now just have a Bulbasaur. Oh, look at it. You thought we wouldn't be able to get the starters, huh? Well, you were wrong. Alright, as always, go straight to the Pokedex. Number 1 in the Pokedex. And here he is. The true number 1 Pokemon. Number 1 in every single national dex to have ever existed. Bulbasaur. We're finally at the starters, and I have a lot to say about starters because they're relatively interesting compared to a lot of the other Pokemon in the game. So, to begin with, every starter specializes in one stat, and it's kind of clear which one Bulbasaur specializes in because it's the one that has the most points into it. And there's actually a theme among every starter where the stat that they specialize in will always be exactly the same in terms of numerical value. And it always scales the same through evolutions. So Bulbasaur's stat is obviously special, and it starts at 65. Keep that in mind, alright? Cool. Now, way earlier in episode 1, I did mention that Bulbasaur was like the easy mode option for a starter in Red and Blue. In Yellow, it's not as applicable because you don't start with Bulbasaur, but it is also the first one you get access to, technically, and that kind of like contributes to the fact that it's easy mode just a little bit. You know, it's like some extra evidence in favor of that idea. But if that wasn't enough to convince you, look at Bulbasaur's base stat total. That base stat total is actually higher than the other two starters get. Additionally, as I alluded to before, the grass type is just a goated type for the gyms in this game. A lot of them are weak to grass, or they don't resist grass at the very least, or maybe even grass resists the gym type. It's just, they definitely sculpted the game around this idea of easy, medium, hard. And there's one more thing that we'll get to a little bit later, but overall, Bulbasaur is a special monster. It specializes in special stat, and so it can get away with using its grass type pretty well, actually. All of its other stats are about equal, and this is also a theme among the starters, is that they have like their one good stat, and then all the stats are like also pretty damn good, but they're just like kind of equal across the board, very balanced. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go to its evolved form at level 16, Ivysaur. Every starter does evolve at level 16, nothing special here, but I was talking about how there was all yellow stats, and we have another example of that right here. For a middle evolution, and especially for how early you can get that middle evolution, Ivysaur is a pretty solid Pokemon. 325 is pretty average for base stats, and while you have it, it will definitely put in some work. Both the Bulbasaur and Ivysaur's level up moveset is unfortunately kind of like, it's not bad, it's not terrible, but it's also not good. It's basically all grass moves and the occasional status condition move, and so you're going to be stuck with Vine Whip as your primary attack until you get to level 30, when you finally learn Razor Leaf. And once you have Razor Leaf, it's pretty smooth sailing from there. If type coverage is what you're looking for in a starter, this is not the place to get it, so we're just going to get that clear right now. But once you get out of Ivysaur, at level 32, you get Venusaur. Venusaur is quite a monster in its own right. 425 is not anything to sneeze at for a base stat total in this game. You could consider maybe even 425 to be the like baseline for comparing how good Pokemon are to each other, even though I was kind of saying like 400 plus club is pretty good, and it is, but I mean 425, you know, that's like the in a sense the gold standard for a Pokemon. If you're at least as good as a starter in terms of base stat total, then you can't get much better than that. And so as you can see, the specialized stat for the starter does cap out at 100. It went from 65 to 80 to 100. It's just a pretty neat detail that I wanted to share, that every starter literally has this like pattern that happens with their specialized stat. Something I never noticed until I started doing this. But special being the best stat in the game is definitely a huge advantage for Bulbasaur, and another piece of evidence for why Bulbasaur is easy mode. And if you combine that with the fact that Bulbasaur's defense is definitely not lacking by any extent, Bulbasaur's pretty tanky. It can take a lot of hits, even though its weaknesses are kind of vast. Grass type has a lot of weaknesses, and poison type also has its own weaknesses that kind of compound on top of each other, but even the things that tweak too, it will take some hits from them, which is pretty great. And it definitely helps that the Bulbasaur line gets access to status moves like Sleep Powder to be able to help deal with things that would otherwise give you trouble. So that last piece of evidence that I was talking about earlier about why Bulbasaur is easy mode is that the middle stage evolving at level 32 is unique to the Bulbasaur line. Every other starter line evolves at level 36 into their final form. So it's like, with all that evidence, how can anyone possibly think that Bulbasaur wasn't handcrafted to be easy mode? I don't get it. But regardless, let's go over the move pool. So first up, I have Razor Leaf on here. My general idea with this moveset was to create something that took advantage of the starter of choices specialized stat, and then also just like, create something good like I always do. And as I mentioned before, the Bulbasaur line doesn't really get like a whole lot of type coverage, so that's why 3 out of the 4 moves are grass type moves. Like literally your only option for attacking moves are going to be normal or grass. There is no poison type attack that the Bulbasaur line gets at all, unfortunately. That being said though, outside of type coverage, the Bulbasaur line is very diverse in what it can actually do. There's a lot of options. This is just the set that I happen to choose / curate for Venusaur here. So Razor Leaf, first off and foremost, that's going to be your main stabbing attacking move. Venusaur does get access to Solar Beam, but we've kind of already talked about why I'm not a huge fan of Solar Beam, and things are no different here. Razor Leaf though, 55 base power, 95% accurate. You're going to miss it a little bit more often than you probably should, but Razor Leaf does have the advantage of having its critical hit ratio be higher. And when you combine that with Venusaur's relatively good base speed, it's going to be critical hitting things way more often than it has any right to when you use Razor Leaf anyway. And because this game handles critical hits by negating all of the benefits from boosting your stats that you would otherwise have, I opted not to put a move like Growth on, for example, which does raise your special and would make Razor Leaf do more damage. Because if you're going to be critical hitting a lot, it's kind of like pointless. Even though Growth does also raise, because it raises special, it's also defensive. So it's not entirely useless, but I digress. My second move on there is Body Slam. This is, again, just the only other move that I can get, and it does make use of the fact that you can do mixed attacking on a Venusaur, which you should pretty much always do if you can on a Pokemon, just to give you options in case you run into something that it happens to be very specially bulky. Then you're not stuck without any physical attacks to be able to really do damage. Or vice versa, if you run into something that's really defensive, then you don't have any special attacks to be able to do more damage than you might otherwise be able to. And then of course Body Slam, Paralysis, go-to move. Then the last two are status moves. We have Sleep Powder, and this one's kind of just multifaceted. Being able to put things to sleep even if it's only 75% accurate is just really good. And it also will help you be able to catch things if you are in the business of wanting to complete the Pokedex. And then finally we have Leech Seed. Leech Seed is a move that you get really early on as a Bulbasaur. It's like level 7 or something like that. And it's like a passive health drain move. So you use it, you set up Leech Seeds on your opponent. The opponent will then be drained or sapped of health every turn. The only real problem with Leech Seed is that other grass-type Pokemon are immune to being seeded, so that is something to keep in mind. Additionally, Leech Seed is also only 90% accurate, and it has relatively low PP at 10. But the reason I put it on here is because at base, it steals 1/16 of your opponent's health every turn, which by itself is alright. It kind of helps Venusaur stay alive a little bit longer than it might otherwise be able to. But the real power of Leech Seed is when you combine it with the move Toxic. Pretty much every Pokemon in the game can learn Toxic. If it can learn TMs, it can learn Toxic. And so Pokemon like Magikarp and Caterpie and Weedle and stuff, those Pokemon that can't learn TMs can't learn Toxic, but pretty much like 140-ish Pokemon out of the 151 in the game. That's a lot of Pokemon that can learn Toxic, but there's not a whole lot of Pokemon that can learn Leech Seed. And if you combine Leech Seed with Toxic, they share the same counter, speaking programmatically. And this is an oversight, one of those Gen 1 bugs, but you can take advantage of it because it exists and you can't change that. And essentially what it means is that because Toxic removes more and more of a higher percentage of health every turn that's active, Leech Seed, because it's sharing that same counter, will also remove more and more health every turn. So they kind of synergize together in a nice way. I didn't put Toxic on Venusaur specifically because the idea was kind of that you would be able to put it on something else and then use the two Pokemon together. I also just didn't want to like sacrifice any of the other move slots for it. I kind of think that you have to have Razor Leaf and Body Slam on the moveset, and then I really want Sleep Powder. And so that left me going, do I want to put Toxic on here? Do I want to put Leech Seed on here? And so that was kind of the idea here. You can easily put Toxic on here, and by itself, Toxic is a way better move. Don't get me wrong, but I was just thinking like a little bit more broader picture. If you have a team of Pokemon, you could put Toxic on something else more easily. You could put Leech Seed on something else and get that synergy going. That all being said, I was saying that there are lots of options for Venusaur, and because Venusaur is so tanky, bulky, whatever you want to call it, you can easily put like Rest and Substitute on a Venusaur and find a lot of success with that. You could also go for Mega Drain over Razor Leaf to be able to heal every turn if you really wanted to. Make Venusaur more of a true like long-standing tank. That one's not exactly like my favorite just because of how many weaknesses Grass type has. But you could definitely do it. And if you want to really go ham with your attack power, I mentioned growth earlier. Venusaur does get growth by level up at level 43, and growth does raise your special by one stage. So you're both increasing your special attack and special defense at the same time, making your grass type attack do more damage, and that'll benefit Mega Drain the most because Razor Leaf having that increased critical hit ratio does make it more likely to not take advantage of growth. So I think it'd be better for Mega Drain, but you can definitely use it with Razor Leaf, and you know it's like no harm, no foul. You are either making growth not mean as much offensively, or it is doing something because whenever Razor Leaf doesn't crit, at least you're getting the attack boost. Additionally, you could try to focus on Venusaur's respectable attack stat and put Swords Dance on a Venusaur. I just didn't do that because I wanted to actually focus on special, but you can definitely go the physical route and it would serve you pretty well. You could even go like crazy and put Hyper Beam on here too if you want to do that. So the point is that there's a lot of options. It's a very versatile Pokemon, easy mode by far. And that being said, if you are playing Yellow and you want to possibly pick up a grass type, you're basically not going to find anything better than a Venusaur. It is maybe a bit cliche to use like all the starters on my team, but I mean, it's kind of just, it's hard to pass up. You know, it's like, it's hard not to be like, well, why shouldn't I just use like the best grass type in the game? So there are definitely other options that are relatively as good as Venusaur for a grass type specifically, but they're going to be coming pretty late in the game, and you can't really go wrong with the starter. So great Pokemon, can recommend. The Seed Pokemon. It can go for days without eating a single morsel. In the bulb on its back, it stores energy. Yeah, so pretty neat. This house is really different in Red and Blue because you can't just like get a free Bulbasaur there, unfortunately. This is a Pokemon Yellow exclusive thing. And I'm not going to exactly say what the alternative is for Red and Blue because it's actually going to get covered later on. But if you're playing red or blue and you're like, what's going on in this house? Don't worry, we'll get to it at some other point in time. It's not really useful right now anyway, so I'm going to deposit the Bulbasaur and then we'll get going. Okay, hey there, dude. And that bush in front of the shop is in the way. There might be a way around. Bush in front of the shop. Are you talking about this one? I think they're talking about this right here. Can't do anything about that though. Electrode turned away. Mimics and Pokemon? Electrode tackle! No, you blew it again! It must be an outsider Pokemon. Not obeying. You're a trainer too! Collecting, fighting. It's tough life. It's a tough life, kid. Cerulean City Pokemon Gym, Leader Misty. The tomboyish mermaid. Alright. Cerulean City, a mysterious blue aura surrounds it. These guys have some interesting marketing going on for their town. Also, what is this sign? Trainer tips. Pressing B button during evolution cancels the whole process. And it's true. I will judge you if you do that, but it is true. Let's talk to the trainers in here real quick. Use Repel to keep bugs and weak Pokemon away. Yep. Put your strongest Pokemon at the top of the list for best results. That is something that I didn't mention, actually. Yeah, the Pokemon you have in your top slot here is the level that it checks for when it's going to determine if you can actually, like, repel the Pokemon successfully. Repels only repel Pokemon that are at lower level than your current Pokemon that you have at the top slot, so. Have you seen any rare candy? It's supposed to make Pokemon go up one level. Yep. Got a couple of those. And there's one more building down here. Oh, there's a sign. Wait, hold on. And a trainer. Or a person, I suppose. I want a bright red bicycle. I'll keep it at home so it won't get dirty. What do you mean you'll keep it at home? Grass and caves handled easily. Bike shop. Grass and caves handled easily. Nice tagline. I get the, like, the idea of, like, I'm gonna store it inside my house so it doesn't get dirty, but it kind of comes across as, like, I'll never use it because I'm afraid it'll get dirty, which is like, then what's the point of buying the bike? A plain city bike is good enough for me. You can't put a shopping basket on an MTB. Mountain bike? Is that what that's supposed to be? If anyone happens to know if that's a common acronym for biking related things, let me know. These bikes are cool, but they're way expensive. I'll be the judge of that. I've got 3,000, I think. Hi, welcome to our bike shop. And we got just the bike for you. It's a cool bike. Do you want it? 1 million Pokédollars. Yeah, I'll take it. Sorry, you can't afford it. Well, do you do like a payment plan? Or... My credit's really good. Come back again sometime. Yeah, evidently we're not getting a bike. I don't know how he has any business with it being 1 million Pokédollars, but... Yeah, here we are. Yeah, I guess I should talk to the people in the Pokemon Center. Let's just do it. Bill has lots of Pokemon. He collects rare ones too. Have you heard about Bill? Well, suddenly everyone's talking about him. Everyone calls him a Pokemaniac. I think people are just jealous of Bill, though. Who wouldn't want to boast about their Pokemon? He's one of those. That Bill, I heard that he'll do whatever it takes to get rare Pokemon. Kind of sounds like a certain someone I know. Also, we didn't talk to this guy, right? You're making an encyclopedia on Pokemon? That sounds amusing. I don't know if I'd call it amusing necessarily, but I appreciate it, I suppose. But hello? These poor people here were robbed. We're positive that Team Rocket is behind this. Terrible deed. Even our police force has trouble with the Rockets. Okay, you're a police officer. That is pretty sad. I'll be honest, I've seen Team Rocket. They're not that good. Like, what do they give you anyway for carrying out law enforcement? So we've explored the whole town. It's relatively small, and there isn't really anywhere to go. We can try to go up here, but there's a ledge blocking the particular path, so we do have to go up this way. Yo, Red! You're still struggling along back there? I'm doing great. I caught a bunch of strong and smart Pokemon. Here, let me see what you caught, Red. Yes, I suppose second of many rival jump scares, because he just is like, I'm gonna battle you now. And if you're not prepared for it, it can be kind of bad for you. Oh, I am leading with my Pikachu. Let's go. Okay, I kind of thought I wasn't, but we will take it, because I'm the perfect Pokemon to handle a Spearow. And it's also like on par with me. Why is it so high leveled? What the heck? I guess he's like technically ahead of me. Ooh, okay, this one's lower leveled, and he's also got a Sandshrew. This is one of those that we switch out for. Don't want to stay in. Go, Lumen, go. Oh god, it's starting. Please. No. Lumen, don't do this. Don't do this to me, Lumen. I'm begging you. Lumen. Oh my god. Oh, thank you. No, you didn't even... What the heck, man? No, stop. I'm switching out. The AI cheats, so it knows I'm gonna switch out, but I don't care. It's still just... It's spamming Sand Attack. It really likes that move. Can Quick Attack kill it? Oh, thank god. Okay. Good job. Good job, team. I'm gonna Thunder Wave, actually, the Rattata. And then I'm gonna switch out. Nice, perfect. Okay. I'm gonna switch out just to let Lumen get some experience here. And I suppose I'll just pound. Ooh, that did a lot. I always underestimate how good a Clefable actually is with its attack set. And Eevee. I'm just gonna pound. I don't really feel the need to like do anything fancy. Oh yeah, this will be a walk in the park. So much for strong and smart Pokemon. You got destroyed by a chubby rat and a fairy. I'm just saying. Hey, take it easy. You won already. Hey, guess what? I went to Bill's and got him to show me his rare Pokemon. That added a lot of pages to my Pokedex. After all, Bill's world famous as a Pokemaniac. He invented the Pokemon storage system on PC. Since you're using his system, go thank him. Well, I better get rolling. Smell you later. Yeah, so that was our, I guess, second required rival battle. It's like both hard and not hard. It kind of depends on what Pokemon you actually have, as do most things, but it's definitely the leveling on that fight is high compared to where what level you might actually be if you have a lot more Pokemon than I do. Like just with 2 Pokemon, I was basically on par with his team, which is kind of rough if you have a lot of lower level Pokemon. But we got through just fine, all things considered. We're gonna put Lumen in the front. So yeah, he did mention that Bill is the one that has the Pokemon storage system. It's listed as someone's PC. So we know who that is now, but the game's not gonna give it away, I guess. I don't know what the game's thinking, to be honest, but regardless, we have only that one direction to go. So now that we've gotten the jump scare out of the way, let's go ahead and keep going upward. This is Nugget Bridge. Beat us 5 trainers and win a fabulous prize. Think you got what it takes? Surprise! It's a gauntlet of trainers. Ooh, Caterpie. I thought we were done with these, but here we are. Nothing my fairy can't handle. Was a Weedle or a Metapod or another Caterpie? Weedle. How original. Ooh, okay. I always am worried about getting poisoned. Woo, good stuff. I like doing evil? What? Even leveling for my Pokemon. So I like to just keep doing the order in which I obtain my Pokemon in, essentially. I'm second. Now it's serious. Okay. You can't say, now it's serious, and then send out a Pidgey of all things. Did you even watch episode 1? These people. Oh my god, Chubby Chew, please. I want to like you, Chubby Chew. I really do. You make it really hard, though. It's gonna happen again. No, it's so much worse. Oh. I have to put up with this the whole game. The entire game is just gonna be Chubby Chew. Being bad. It's okay. I love Chubby Chew anyway. How could I lose? Well, Chubby Chew, hold on. It's not what you think. I'm not. That's not a help wanted sign for electric types. It's not, okay? Don't worry about it. Here's number 3. I won't be easy. Let me guess. A Rattata. Youngsters these days. Okay, that wasn't... Oh my god, Hyperfane is actually spooky? Do Rattatas really get that level 14? That's kind of filthy. I might have even said that when I did the bio for it, and I completely forgot. So we're trying to learn Slam here. No. Slam is just... It's like not accurate enough to make it worth it. It's like maybe even worse accuracy than Mega Punch, but it's also less damage, so not worth it. What do I want to do about this Ekans here? I did just level up. I think I'm just gonna switch out. Let a real Pokemon take care of this. Ooh! Oh, okay, that was a crit. I'm not complaining now. I like Ekans' sprite a lot more in this game, I think, than Red and Blue. Alright, get rid of the Zubat. Ow! Stomped flat. Alright, let's switch up the order. Bam, bam. I'm number 4, getting tired. I can keep going all day, girl. Oh my god, what is with these glasses and having Pidgeys? I wouldn't even think that it's like a particularly like cute choice. I guess it is cuter than Spirit though. Spirit's kind of edgy. Ooh, Nidoran female. Okay. You could have evolved it, but I'm definitely judging you. Ooh, my attack. Let's switch to Water Gun. Let's see how much that does. About, like, the same. If, oh my god, wait, it has double kick? God damn, okay. I guess the Nidoran line does learn double kick early in Pokemon Yellow. To give you more options against Brock. I lost 2. That just kind of like destroyed my Lumen a little bit. Yeah, we're gonna go heal before we move on. And we're back to fight the last. Oh no, there's another one up there. Okay, I'm number 5. I'll stomp you. Kinky. Ooh, whoa, hold on. That is what we call a bad type matchup. An unfavorable type matchup. Sing. Oh, okay, Karate Chop, whatever. It's not even fighting type in this game. It did do a heck of a lot, though. And I missed my Sing. Pound? Oh god, he actually used low kick. Now that's actually fighting type, and ooh, that did a lot. How much does this do, though? Oh, okay. I'm still gonna switch out, but, not too bad. Softened it up. Oh my god, why is this thing critting so much? Bam. Just in case Chubby Chew goes down. This thing's kind of going crazy on me. Okay. Thunder Shock. Okay, we'll take it. It's fine. There we go. The Mankey was kind of cleaning up some shop right there. Whoa, too much. That's what I was saying. Alright, we have to switch back, and I guess I have to heal again. And last but not least, congratulations! You beat our 5 contestant trainers! You just earned a fabulous prize! Ooh, a nugget. By the way, would you like to join Team Rocket? We're a group dedicated to evil using Pokemon. I want to join? No. Are you sure? No. Come on, join us now. I'm telling you to join now. Okay, you need convincing now. I'll make you an offer you can't refuse now. I knew it was a pyramid scheme the whole time. Of course, it's an Ekans. Ekans. Guys. Oh, okay, Chubby Chew. I'm impressed. Chubby Chew heard me talking some smack and was like, maybe I'll put in some work for once. Alright, you better one-shot. Do it. Oh my god. And you got supersonicked. But it's fine, because you'll just quick attack. Yes, yes. Let's go. You are good. With your ability, you could become a top leader in Team Rocket. No thank you. I like to have actual, like, benefits. You know, retirement, health, dental. I saw your feet from the grass. Vacation? Paid vacation, specifically? So this guy was just camping out in the grass with a Rattata. I don't know how I feel about that. But, he's going down either way. Ooh, tail whip. I whip my tail back and forth. I whip my tail back and forth. And an Ekans. Wow, Ekans is like really popular over here. I'm gonna use Mega Punch for the lulz. Ooh, goddamn! Oh, it was a crit. Okay, wow. Well, I mean, it was still nice. I appreciated it. I thought not. Okay. I'm gonna leave that guy alone for the time being, because up here, there's this dude, but there's also TM45. Now, TM45, if I'm not mistaken, is Thunder Wave. Yes, so Thunder Wave, we already have on Pikachu, but I mean, obviously, it's just a really good move. I can highly recommend putting it on things that would not normally learn Thunder Wave. Specifically things that are fast, like, I don't know, if you have like a Primeape, I don't even think it can learn it, but it's fast, and it definitely wouldn't learn it naturally, so if it can for some reason learn Thunder Wave, you know. Anyway. I'm not good at raising Pokemon. I should release my Charmander, because I haven't raised it well. If you promise me you'll care for it, it's yours. Yes? Just like that, we get a Charmander. No nicknames. Take good care of my Charmander. Yes, so this one is no strings attached. You don't have to do anything special. He just gives you a Charmander. My boy. I missed it. The second starter, according to the Pokedex, and unlike Bulbasaur, this one actually gets to be on the cartridge, and the box for that matter, outside of Japan. Everyone knows the great, powerful Charmander. Fire types in general, the fire type starter, tends to be quite popular and portrayed as powerful, especially in the anime. Charmander is arguably the most popular starter of all time, outside of, I guess, Pikachu, if you count Pikachu as a starter. And it's for good reason. Charmander is a pretty fantastic Pokemon overall, even in Gen 1. Though it's not without its shortcomings, which we'll get to eventually. As I alluded to during the Bulbasaur bio, if you look at Charmander's base stat total, that's 4 points lower. It's actually lower still than the other starter that we haven't talked about yet. And it's all the more evidence as to why Charmander is hard mode. I'm just saying. So, yeah, Charmander being hard mode is very evidenced. Lowest base stat total of all the starters for some reason. Even if not by much. The typing that Charmander has is heavily disadvantaged in the early game, especially for the gyms in this game. Brock is kind of an infamous roadblock for Charmander players, though Charmander can at least use Ember, which helps a lot, but kids probably wouldn't necessarily realize what they're doing to be able to strategize that well. They might just be like, I'm using the fire type attack, and it's not very effective. But fire is cool, so we'll keep using it. Regardless, while Charmander is hard mode effectively for this game, I wouldn't say that it pays off extremely well compared to other starters. Like, just in general, I wouldn't say that Charmander is like the best starter as long as you can tough it out through the early game or anything crazy like that. But regardless, I don't want to dwell on Charmander itself for too long, so let's go ahead and look at Charmeleon. Just like Ivysaur, Charmeleon is a pretty run-of-the-mill middle stage evolution, same base stat total, same level to evolve at, etc., etc. The Charmander line, as is obvious by this point, specializes in speed, and otherwise the Charmander line's stat spread is heavily favored towards attacking stats. Both its attack and special are higher than its defense and HP, and they're functionally equivalent. It's kind of interesting because Charmander starts with a higher attack by a little bit, and then it kind of flip-flops into a higher special. And I think they did that because in the early game, you're reliant a little bit more on the like normal type physical attacks. And then by this point, by the time you have a Charmeleon, you'll have access to Ember. So then they're like, yeah, we'll just give special that little tiny bump to make it feel a little bit more powerful. But unlike Ivysaur, you're stuck with Charmeleon for an extra 4 levels. You have to wait until level 36 to evolve into Charizard. Yes, Charizard, probably one of the most overrated Pokemon of all time. But I'm not mad. I will fully admit that Charmander was my first starter ever when I played Fire Red back in 2006 or 7. It was a long time ago. I have a bias, but not so much of a bias that I'm gonna sit here and soapbox about how Charizard's so great and blah 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 blah. Frankly, if you're playing Red and Blue, I wouldn't pick up Charizard. I would probably pick up anything besides Charizard over Charizard, unfortunately. It's just not suitable for Gen 1 as well as the other 2 starters, unfortunately, but let me try and sing its praises anyway. Charizard is the de facto good stat spread Pokemon for what I was talking about with you want a sweeper. And Charizard is a sweeper, alright. Not like the best sweeper of all time. Its attack stats are kind of a little bit too low for that to be like completely true. But the high speed is actually more important in this game just because of critical hits and stuff. And so I intend to take full advantage with my recommended moveset. Before we get into that though, I do want to point out that Charizard's the only starter that gains a typing throughout its lifespan. Bulbasaur obviously started with 2 typings and just kept it the whole time. The other starter does not have this sort of 1 type to 2 types by the end of it. In the same vein as like a Caterpie turning into a Butterfree, eventually gaining that flying type. Charizard does gain the flying type, and honestly, I don't think it helps it very much at all. Uniquely in Gen 1, the flying type is pretty bad just overall in terms of like attacking and stuff, as we've gone over many times. But even worse than that, Charizard doesn't learn any flying type moves at all in Red and Blue. The only flying type move that Charizard gets access to comes in Pokemon Yellow exclusively because they finally gave Charizard the ability to learn the HM Fly. I don't know why they thought that he wouldn't be able to learn Fly in Red and Blue, but they remedied it just a little bit too late. He doesn't get Wing Attack, he doesn't get Peck, he doesn't get anything cool, unfortunately. So his flying type is basically just a defensive thing to, like, I guess fit the fact that he's a dragon and he can fly. Why wasn't he dragon type? It would be so much cooler. I know, it's because he's a starter and they'd be too overpowered and they wanted it to be unique and blah blah blah. I digress. But like I said, the flying type does not help Charizard at all because you can't attack with it. And even if you could attack with it, the flying type and the fire type overlap heavily on the things that it's super effective against. They both hit grass and bug super effectively. And the only other thing that flying can hit super effectively is the fighting type, which is like okay, I guess, but it's not anything crazy in Generation 1 to be able to do. So without a flying type move though, it's a pointless discussion. And defensively, the flying type, it does provide immunity to ground type attacks, which is actually pretty good in Generation 1. There's a overrepresentation of the move Earthquake being one of the best attack moves in the game. And then there's also a fair amount of high profile trainers that use ground type Pokemon. So being able to be immune to ground type is actually pretty good for Charizard, but that's where it stops. Unfortunately, fire and flying don't really complement each other well defensively. They don't really have any like, oh, the secondary typing can cover the weaknesses of the other typing to make it a more hard Pokemon to hit super effectively. They basically don't have any overlap, any synergy in that way. Charmander and Charmeleon as a fire type were already weak to water, and flying doesn't do anything for that. You're still going to be weak to water. And fire is weak to rock. Flying is also weak to rock. So you gain an immunity to ground, but you essentially trade it for a quad weakness to rock. It's actually not the worst trade in the world in this particular generation, just because rock type moves are not particularly abundant or good. But it does become a thorn in Charizard's side just moving forward, so we'll revisit it, I'm sure, at some point. Regardless, flying is also on its own weak to electric and ice. That means that Charizard gains an electric and an ice weakness, which is really bad for it. Both of those types, electric especially, are relatively common. I mean, ice is not common, but ice type moves are very powerful. It's a very strong attacking type. You don't see a lot of it in this game, but it's not something you want to be weak to regardless. And I know what you're going to say, but fire resists ice. Not in Generation 1. For some reason, fire doesn't resist ice in Generation 1. So, yeah. I'm not a fan of it being part flying type, unfortunately. It is what it is, though. We have to put up with it. Recommended moveset. First up is, of course, the stab move, Flamethrower. Flamethrower is just a really good stab move. 95 base power, 100% accurate. It also has a 10% chance to burn, which is always appreciated when it happens, unless you really want to do a different status on the Pokemon for some reason. I will also mention that you can teach a Charizard Fire Blast through TM, and Fire Blast is 120 base power, 85% accurate. Like pound for pound, the extra 25 base power for a drop in 15% accuracy is technically a net win, but we all know how accuracy in Pokemon always seems to be worse than the numbers would lead you to believe. Human fallacy and stuff like that. And honestly, Flamethrower is quite powerful enough, but Fire Blast is an option, of course. And then we move into the mixed attacking sort of support that Charizard does have. Unfortunately, there's no other special type moves that Charizard gets access to. It's just fire type, so we're stuck with physical attacking moves regardless. But Charizard does get access to Earthquake, which is really good for it. It can counter its quad rock weakness for rock type Pokemon with Earthquake. Not the most optimally, but at least it's something. And of course, Earthquake is just a really good move. And then we have Slash. Charizard does get access to Body Slam. The reason I put Slash here is because I did promise that I would try to cater my moves around the specialized stat of each starter. And speed being the specialized stat means I'm going to try and take advantage of the fact that Slash has the increased critical hit rate, and 100 base speed means that you're going to be creating a lot with Slash, if not all the time. So I will leave it to your own good judgment on whether or not you should do Slash or Body Slam, but I will, I guess, recommend Slash over Body Slam officially. They're more or less interchangeable though. And then to complement everything off, Charizard does get Swords Dance. I highly recommend putting it on there so that you can just wreck house with, like, use Swords Dance right at the beginning of the battle once, and then you're living up to your sweeper name. It's relatively straightforward this time. There's not a whole lot to delve deep into, but that's just how Charizard rolls, you know? It's very simple, just attack things. Yeah, I mean, obviously, 425 base set total, great Pokemon, and one of the relatively limited fire type options in the game. But if you're not playing Yellow, the fact that this flying type can't learn Fly is pretty rough, which makes it hard to recommend for that reason, because then you're going to have to put like a second flying type on your team to be able to use Fly, and that's never fun. If you are playing Yellow though, you could mess around with putting Fly in your moveset. I don't really think it's worth it even having access to Fly. There's just not enough valid reason to want to use it, in my opinion, but something you can look into on your own regardless. The lizard Pokemon. The flame at the tip of its tail makes a sound as it burns. You can only hear it in quiet places. Yes, so we already have 2 starters. Pretty good, all things considered. I do real quick want to mention that this grass here does have some new Pokemon for us, and we're going to cover all that in the next episode because we are out of time. So if you like the video, please hit like. If you really like the video and you want to see more, consider subscribing. And if you dislike the video, then hit dislike. I could not enter this building and save my life. Otherwise, I'll see everyone next time.